What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Big T's Reviews and Reactions, and today we're about to break down and review the 2021 movie called The Stairs. This movie was a little surprising for me, but on this channel, we don't spend a lot of time talking. We're going to get right into it. Guys, if you're watching the videos, just please subscribe. It's not really hurting you to subscribe. Give me good comments, bad comments. I really don't care. Just like, subscribe, do what you wish. But the synopsis of this movie. In 1997, a young boy is out hunting with his grandfather when he stumbles upon a mysterious staircase deep in the forest. The subsequent disappearance leaves locals baffled as to the fate of the wayward pair. The intro of this movie is you see this lady pull up to her parents' home. She has her young son with her. They get out, they greet the grandparents, yada, yada, yada. She explains to them, he's been being bullied. I really don't know what to do. But he's been looking forward to this hunting trip for a while with grandpa. So, the little niceties, the family time, that ensues. But then we go to the forest and they are hunting a buck. The kid shoots the buck, and this is really when it gets interesting. They go to track the buck to find it where it died or where it's dying. And the grandpa thinks he's getting close. So he kind of starts walking fast. And kids, they're inquisitive. He says, "Grandpa, do you hear that? Sounds like something is chewing on something." So it happens that he's eating a donut that his grandmother packed him. And, he's a kid. So he sees something in the bushes that we can't see. And then he starts feeding it. It runs off. He follows it back to the grandfather. He's found the buck. He's calling for his grandson. "Jesse, come on, you're going to miss the best part." He shoots the buck, and then he goes back because he doesn't see his grandson. He ends up finding his grandson's pack, and he laments, "I thought I taught you better than this." We go back to the grandson. He's looking for this thing that he was feeding. He sees this staircase in the woods. Really no support. It's just sitting there, white and black, almost majestic looking. I guess it would have to be for a staircase to just be in the middle of nowhere. Of course, he's a kid. He thinks it's cool. He jumps on it. "Oh, wow, this is amazing." And as he gets to the top, he looks down below and he sees, I guess, the thing that he was feeding. And he says, "What are you?" So he gets off the staircase, and then he goes to the back of it. And this is when Grandpa Gene hears the screaming. He follows the voice. He makes his way there, and then he sees the staircase. And as he's looking at the staircase, it's like something is pulling his grandson, because he's in mid air, not vertically, but horizontal, and he's screaming, "I'm sorry, Grandpa, I'm sorry." And as he's screaming this, something pulls him. The grandpa runs to the back, and he looks down as if there's something to look down at, and he begins shooting, and he's screaming and screaming, and then he goes down. And then that's the intro of this movie. This is the disappearance that they were talking about. As the movie starts off, you have two characters going on a hiking trip, Nick and Josh. They're just talking, like good friends do, and then they stop because Nick has to use the bathroom, and they also want some coffee. But the funny thing about this is when they pull over to get the coffee, people in their small talk, the guy asks, "Oh, well, what are you guys doing?" And he says, "Oh, we're going hiking." And he says, "Oh, really? At this particular place? That's a 30-mile hike. You guys be careful. It's a blood moon tonight." Josh is like, "What does that mean?" He was like, "Oh, well, people tend to disappear on the blood moon." His wife says, "Oh, stop it. You love to tease. You love to do this, yada, yada, yada." But Nick, from the beginning, seems to be a little more observant than his friend Josh, and he begins to see all of these missing people posters. Josh rushes him along, and you get a close-up of the people that are missing. So they get back in the truck, and Nick is a little quiet, and Josh is like, "Why are you so quiet?" And he's like, I don't know." And then Josh starts teasing him. "Oh, you're easy, you're an easy mark." Okay, so they get to the camping spot, and that's when they meet up with their friend Kate, and they meet her girlfriend Jordan. Everyone's happy, and then they ask about this guy named Chuck. "Oh, where's Chuck?" Nick informs them Chuck dropped out at the last minute, so he couldn't come. And Doug was right there, so I had to invite Doug. Well, clearly no one wants Doug around, but he invited himself, so what can you do? Okay, the gang gets together, they greet each other, whatever. You know, they think they think maybe Jordan is a little obsessive compulsive because she only shakes hands, she doesn't want to hug. But then again, why would you want to hug someone that you really don't know? But anyway, the guys hike, and then this is a little filler, information to the film. Nick starts getting tired. It's 12 miles in. Everyone's like, wow, we have like, what is it? 3 or 4 more miles before we get to the halfway point because it's a 30-mile thing, whatever. So they keep going. And then another filler point is when they stop and realize it's a 5-day trip. And Nick has brought 3 pairs of jeans, 8 or 9 cans of chili, a heavy cast iron frying pan. They're laughing, of course you're tired. Look at everything you packed. But this is really when the film really gets good. And the reason I like this movie is because it really didn't take long to get to the strange and unusual things that we are used to in a horror movie. So as they're walking along talking, they see this makeshift man-made or animal-made dwelling, like a cave. Looks to be made of branches and twigs and leaves, almost like a cave. The guys are like, oh, this is cool. The girls are like, no, let's go. We don't like how that looks. So as they're going along, Jordan tells her girlfriend Kate, oh babe, your shoe is untied. So you're in the woods, it may be some wild animals around, but Kate stops to tie her shoe and everyone keeps walking. I really didn't understand that, but whatever. So when she ties her shoe, she looks around and they're gone. She thinks nothing of it. I'm just going to catch up with them. It can't be that far. She takes a swig of her water, and as she's doing that, she starts tying her shoe, and then she looks up and she sees this woman with no shoes on or dress, all bloodied up. And as she looks in the woman's eyes, the woman with the black hair, she has like razor sharp teeth. I'm not talking fangs. I mean, every one of her teeth are like razor sharp. And like how people do in horror movies, she puts her hands over her face. She, and then the woman, whoever she is, she just kind of disappears. That's when Kate sees the woman walking off the other way and she's looking around. Oh God, they're gone. What am I going to do? She continues to look around, just really startled, not knowing what to do, because I just saw this woman, this really bloody woman. Now, for whatever reason, she begins running the other way. I couldn't tell you why she did this, but this is what she did. And then all of a sudden, she looks around like she's lost. She turns around and she sees the same woman. She starts screaming. This time, the woman doesn't disappear, so she's hysterical. Of course she is. She's running through the forest, and then she's screaming, and that's when her friends hear her. She realizes, I've run in hysterics and I really don't know where I am. I'm running with no cause because I'm afraid, so I'm really scampering. And then she realizes I'm back at this little man-made little hut, and as she looks inside, she sees the same woman with the razor sharp fangs. So it's like a time jump, because all of a sudden she gets back to where she was and she falls on her knees crying. And that's when Jordan and that's when Josh catch up to her, and Doug and Nick, and they are wondering like, what is going on? And she start talking about, I saw this woman, this barefoot woman with black hair, razor sharp fangs. She was chasing me. Everyone thinks, okay, you're tripping. We were right there. We didn't see anything on the path. And of course she is mad. I didn't imagine this. How could you guys miss her? She's really upset. I mean, 1 minute you're, really serious and calm, and then all of a sudden you freak out like this. I don't really see how you can think that this isn't real. I mean, she seems to be a really level-headed person. But anyway, they kind of take it with a grain of salt. Maybe she's dehydrated and they're trying to give her water, even though she just drank a little of her water. But that's what they're doing. They're trying to give her water. They think maybe you're dehydrating, maybe you're hallucinating. And then Doug, he's a little, I guess easygoing is a nice way to put it. You know, everyone on a horror movie always have the guy who kind of acts like adult. He doesn't take anything too seriously. He likes to play a little bit. I'll just call him a free spirit, but they hear him scream, and then they go down the trail, and then they see all his clothes and his pack and shoes and all this stuff missing, and they realize, or well, they think he's hurt or whatever, and then he jumps out the water. He's playing a joke. He gets out. He has leeches all over him. Everyone's laughing as Jordan begins to take the leeches off of him. But after a little bit more hiking, they run into this man who seems to be a little bit off kilter, like he's kind of lost his mind. He's talking to himself. He's babbling. And then as they walk up to the man, they want to know, can we help you? To me, it's just being nosy, but whatever. So they walk up to the guy. And he begins telling them, this is a family matter, this is a family matter, leave, leave, leave. And then one of the guys, I think it's Doug, he says, dude, what happened to your head? We need the first aid kit. We need something to help this guy. This guy is bleeding. He has really a big wound on his head. So as they go to get him, then they realize, oh man, there's this lady bending down holding a baby or whatever. And then as Jordan goes to look at the woman, she tells Kate, come bring something so we can help. And then that's when Kate freaks out. Kate is like, oh my God, that's the woman. That's who was chasing me, trying to hurt me. Doug grabs a branch. You know, okay, you have this guy who's acting crazy and this woman who chased Kate, who now is holding this crying baby. The man is looking up to the sky. We can fix this. Please don't leave me. You know, he has this big gash in the back of his head. And then all of a sudden, the man pulls out a gun. No, get out. I don't want your help. This is a family matter. So he pulls out the gun and he points it at them to back away. And then all of a sudden he points it and he puts it under his head. And he shoots and nothing happens. He just continues to talk. Nothing happens. It didn't hurt him. So what? This has to be some kind of spirit of the forest. It's not like the world of horror stories are short on them. He keeps talking. He wants them to go. That's when this woman who chased Kate stands up and she holds the baby up, and it's this huge worm. They take off. I mean, they haul ass. Why wouldn't they? But the odd thing about this, they are eerily calm except for one. And if I was in this situation, I guess you would call me Nick, because Nick is freaking the heck out. I mean, he is literally scared. He's screaming. Everyone is calm. Yeah, maybe you're supposed to keep your wits at a time like this, but Nick is not having this. Nick is like, we need to go. Did you guys not just see this huge maggot baby? Or whatever. I mean, he's close to tears. Of course, I don't blame him. The only mistake that I see they made is I'm not stopping. I'm just keeping going. My heart may burst, but I'm just not going to stop. But they stop. You know, after they get Nick under control, they stop. And they decide, we're going to make camp for the night. So Nick is sleeping. Everyone else is up around the fire. Kate decides, I'm going to bed, and then Jordan follows, but not before telling Doug, give him a, you know, let Josh rest a bit. You know, Josh isn't tired. Doug goes to lie down, and as Doug lies down, Doug begins to fantasize. Maybe it's the mushrooms he took, whatever, but he begins to fantasize about having sex with Jordan. And at the same time, no one seems to realize that Doug is being dragged from his tent. He's fantasizing, but at the same time, he's waking up. He's realizing something isn't right. And then as he looks to his right in his drug stupor, he realizes, oh my God, that maggot baby, it's on the ground right there. And then when he finally comes to, he realizes, oh my God, what is this thing in front of me? He starts screaming. This thing starts tearing him apart. That's when Nick wakes up. That's when Josh looks around. Jordan and Kate jump up. What the hell is going on? We don't know. Jordan goes and looks in Doug's tent. Doug isn't there. So, you know, Kate wants to stay. This is where we're safe. We shouldn't leave this spot. The rest of them know we have to go and find Doug. So they start looking for him, and then they find his shoe. And then that's when Nick says something is strange. The trail ends right here. Well, Josh is like, well, it can't end right here. We're just missing something. We just have to keep looking. So they end up finding his sleeping bag, and they see blood on it. And as they keep, searching, everyone begins to fight. Of course they're fighting. They're afraid. They don't know what to do. So as they fight, they realize, well, what is this light up ahead of us? As they go to the light, they realize it leads to some stairs. Okay, we're back at the stairs. 20 years ago in the intro, this is where we were. This is the same woods in Index, Washington. So, as usual, Nick seems to be the voice of reason, or maybe you can just call him scary. I don't know, but I call it the voice of reason. So, Nick is like, guys, let's go. I really don't have a bad feeling. Josh thinks, oh, it's so cool. He climbs the stairs. Everyone is telling him, including Jordan, I have a bad feeling about this. Let's just go. Josh is like, oh, what? You guys afraid of the stairs? And Kate is like, no, we're afraid of, how did the stairs get in the middle of nowhere? What is powering these lamps that are hanging from them? So Josh finally gets down because everyone tells him, let's go, this isn't right, something isn't right. And that's when he hears these two voices. He claims, oh, well, maybe it's Doug. So they go around the back, and then that's when they see the door. Josh hears the voice again. Josh decides to break down the door. And as he breaks down the door, he falls to the bottom. Nick goes to the bottom of these stairs. We're in the door of the stairs. And as they prepare to leave, as he helps Josh up, then they hear the voices again. For whatever reason, they think it's Doug's voice. It sounds like Doug, but how can it be Doug? How do you not know what your friend sounds like? They go, they run, they realize this place is a lot bigger than what we thought it was. And that's when they run into this kid. That's right, it's the same kid from 20 years ago, but he has not aged. What is going on? Another plot twist. And then all of a sudden they hear this growl, and then the kid runs off. They manage to find each other, and then the kid wants to go to the door. He tells them that thing that growled, it's a hunter. He wants to go back to the door, but he told them the door never stays in the same spot because the hunter changes where it is. They inform him, oh, we just came from the door. The kid is like, oh, well, can you please take me to the door? So that's when they trying to make their way back to the door. As they try to make their way back to the door, they seem to get a little lost. Nick wants to go one way, Josh wants to go another way, but Nick says, just trust me. So they follow Nick, and then that's when they run into the hunter again. So they finally find the door, and Nick grabs Jesse, telling the girls to grab him. They're like, who is this? He said, it doesn't matter, just get him and go. And so as they're about to go up the stairs, that's when the hunter grabs Josh and slits his throat. Nick is hysterical, but he runs upstairs and closes the door to stop the hunter from chasing after him. And he's crying. He feels so bad. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Yada, yada, yada. And Kate and Jordan are like, well, we really can't think about that right now. We just have to go. Kate and Jordan and Jesse are running. They're running. They don't know where to go at this point. They're lost in the woods. It's dark. They don't know where to go. But Jordan informs Kate to turn off your headlight. We don't want that creature to find us, and we can be guided by the moonlight. Nick got separated from them when he was in hysterics about Josh, and then he falls into this mud while trying to get away from the hunter. And then when they do run into him, they smell this god-awful smell. It's not mud. Something's wrong. And as they look around, they realize there are a lot of bones and bodies. And at the same time, they also realize, oh my God, there's Doug. Like, whatever is in this woods, this is where it dumps its victims. So now that they're back together, they notice that they see the hunter again, and so they're running, and that's when they run into an old abandoned RV. As they knock, they go to the side and it's open, and as all of them get into the RV, the hunter grabs Kate and kills her. Like, he lifts her up in the air as Nick is trying to pull her down, and she's dead. Everyone's crying, everyone's afraid. So now Doug is gone, Kate is gone, and Josh is gone. Like, over half of our group is gone. What are we gonna do now? So now it's Nick and Jordan and Jesse in the RV, hoping to God that this creature doesn't find them. After a while, Jesse informs them once he gets your scent, he's never going to quit and he's never going to leave. So they're talking and they're talking, and then after a while, the RV starts to shake. The creature hasn't left. They're upset. You know, it gets silent a little while. Time skips a little while. And after that, they realize, what can we do? Maybe we can wait till morning, but we cannot leave this RV. Nick really begins to calm down. The adrenaline was pumping, but now that he's catching a little break, he realizes what happens, and he is really beginning to feel the guilt of leaving Josh. Jordan informs him, you did everything you could. You know, he informs them of everything that Josh did when they were growing up. You know, I was bullied. Our parents worked a lot. He made sure we had something to eat, yada, yada, yada. And Jordan informs him, if you really want to make it right for him, help us get out of here. That's the best thing you can do. So at the same time, Jordan wants to know, hey, kid, we never asked you your name. And then the kid said, oh, my name is Jesse. And Nick gets a funny look on his face. Nick is like, what's your last name? And he says, Jesse Martin. And then Nick is freaking out. He realizes, oh my God, this is my childhood friend. Dun dun dun. Then Jordan is like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, what's your grandfather's name? And what did he say? Oh, Grandpa Gene. And Nick is like, oh my God, I don't believe this. You know, years ago, I had a friend named Jesse who disappeared with his grandfather, and everybody blamed the grandfather, but then they thought it was foul play when neither one of them were seen again. And then he informs him, did you have a friend, Jesse, growing up named Nick? And then Jesse's like, yeah, Nicholas Reed. And he says, I'm Nicholas Reed. And Jesse's like, Nick? Really? You're Nick? And then Nick really doesn't understand what's going on. How can this happen? You know, Jordan says, well, they disappeared 20 odd years ago. What are you saying? Like, he time traveled, and Nick is like, no, that's impossible. I'm not saying he did that. But when I was down there, it seemed like I was transported to another dimension. And then Jesse informed him that in the dark there are many different openings, but they were always afraid to go and see what was there. Now, my take on this is that time stood still in the stairs or whatever. If you want to put another dimension aspect in it, maybe that's what happened. But my take on this is, even if they did go to a dimension, it had to be a dimension where time stood still and you didn't age. They decide they can't stay in here forever. So what? They find a gun. They're looking for weapons. So they find a gun and they find about 4 or 5 shotgun shells. So their plan is, Nick tells them, I want you guys to go to the other side of the RV and I want you to just make a lot of noise because we're going to try to distract the Grub Daddy, because that's what Jesse named it. And so they started, screaming and hitting, and then the Grub Daddy went to the back of the RV. Nick opens the door and throws some pots and pans out, and he waits, and the Grub Daddy goes through the pots and pans. So Nick informs them, we only have one chance, guys. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to get you guys I'm going to get Jesse to distract the Grub Daddy. And then at the same time, I'm going to throw something again so it can go away from it. And he informs Jordan, and I want you to shoot him. And she was like, oh, I love to. I got this. So Jesse starts making noise. The Grub Daddy comes back to him. Nick throws some more pots and pans out, and the Grub Daddy goes to it, and they silently get out of the RV. The safety on the shotgun is messed up, but she manages to get a few shots, but it doesn't seem to be hurting it, or either they're missing. And then before she knows it, it's on her, and it just, with these razor sharp hooks or hands or whatever it has, it just guts her stomach open, her abdomen, and her guts and stuff just fall out. And Nick jumps back in and he closes the door, and he's crying. He's upset. He's feeling guilt again because this was his plan and it didn't work. At this point, he feels like, I have nothing to lose now. Nick is the thinker in this movie, but he feels like, I have nothing to lose now. He tells Jesse, I want you to distract the Grub Daddy, but I also want you to, when I close this door, I want you to lock it. He grabs a propane tank. Jesse distracts the Grub Daddy. Jesse starts trying to distract the Grub Daddy with sound, and as Nick gets out, he yells, "Hey, you son of a bitch," and the grub daddy looks at him and he throws the propane tank to the grub daddy after Nick opened it, and he hears the hissing, and Nick grabs a lighter and said, "Who's the daddy now, bitch?" And he throws it, and the grub daddy catches on fire, and he's running through the woods. Now, this is when it gets a little stupid for me. I mean, some of you may think this movie is stupid already, but Jesse and Nick, instead of going the other way, they follow the grub daddy, and then they realize the stairs is on fire. We jump to it being daylight. The area is being investigated by cops and crime scene personnel. They really don't know what's going on. They see it, but they don't believe it. One of the guys says, "I've seen this file countless times. This is the kid. I don't know how it's happened, but this is the kid." The crime scene investigators informed them, "No, we didn't find any stairs." But the other people, it looked like an animal got them. So, I mean, I guess that's good for Nick. They can't really pin it on him. So Nick and Jesse are sitting down, really having a heart-to-heart, and Jesse hugs him after Nick gives Jesse Josh's old knife. Nick informs him, "I want you to have it." They hug, and then that's when the grandmother and the mother pull up. They're visibly older. You can see it. They are older than they were. And no one really points out the fact that this kid is the same age when he should be Nick's age, because Nick is his childhood friend. They just hug. The mother and grandmother are just glad to have him back. Jesse hugs his grandmother and he informs her, "I'm sorry that I lost granddad," and he's sorry that he didn't bring back tomatoes because she wanted tomatoes at the beginning. But this John Schneider thing, I think it's like a running gag in Hollywood, because almost everything he's on, he seems to die in. He died in this. He died on The Secret Life of the American Teenager when he was Grace's father. He died on Smallville. They just really like to kill this guy in Hollywood. They never did find Josh's body. They had to question Nick because they couldn't find his body. We know why he couldn't find it. The stairs burned down. Or did they? Maybe, whatever supernatural force placed them there, maybe they transported them somewhere else. Maybe that was the gateway to this dimension, and it got burned down in this dimension, and now it's in other infinite dimensions. But whatever the case, we jump to the future, and we see Jesse and Nick fishing. Jesse's the same age, Nick is the same age, but they're just fishing. And then Jesse thanks Nick for taking him fishing, and he asks Nick, "What kind of bait are you using?" And he said grubs, and they laugh, and the film goes off. This film was not bad. Some may call it bad. I don't really call it bad. I love horror, I really do. It's my favorite genre, but I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars, and the reason I gave it 3 stars is because I think it's unique. I like its creativity in making it. And as far as the actors go, they were a little ordinary, but I found the actor who played Nick, I found his acting to be a little bit better, maybe because I kind of felt like this is how I would be if I was in this situation. His name is Adam Corson, and I gave him, the best acting performance in the film. 3 out of 5 stars, creativity, realism, unique story, a unique twist. The characters were a little more sensible than most in a horror movie. They really tried their best to survive. The ending was different, but it was somewhat satisfying, because you'll find in some horror movies that no one lives. So we had 2 that ended up living in this. 3 out of 5 stars. You guys, I hope you like this review. Tomorrow we will be posting a review of American Horror Story Red Tide episode 6, which is the finale for the first part of double feature. I hate to say the word finale on American Horror Story, but we do have a part 2 coming up. Guys, if you like this movie breakdown, please like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me if there's a movie that you want me to review. Just please tell me. This is Big T's Reviews and Reactions, and I will see you guys next time.